All right, guys, let me ask you this. What happens when the man who once threw the biggest parties in Hollywood now can't even take a single step without government eyes on him? What happens when the king of excess suddenly has to beg permission just to breathe outside his front door? Sean Diddy Combs just got the terms of his probation, and let's just say he's not celebrating. Remember how he thought that 40-month sentence was rough? Turns out that was the easy part, because now every move he makes, every dollar he spends, every message he sends, it's all being watched. Diddy's legal team might have fought hard for leniency, but the probation department clearly had other plans. They've reportedly locked him into one of the strictest supervision programs the entertainment world has ever seen. The man who once ruled music, fashion, and nightlife now has to live like an open book. His bank accounts, credit lines, and financial transfers, all under constant review. His communications and even his devices, subject to random checks at any hour. And it doesn't stop there. According to official reports, Diddy must remain enrolled in a full rehabilitation program, mandatory drug and alcohol testing, counseling sessions, the whole package. There's no skipping out, no self-selected therapists, no private luxury retreats in the Bahamas. This time it's whatever the court assigns. Sources familiar with the situation say he's already furious about it. He's not used to being told what to do, especially not by anyone in authority. But here's the part that's really breaking him down. 5 years. That's how long he'll be watched after leaving prison. 5 years of curfews, check-ins, surprise visits, and people digging through his life like a Netflix true crime special. And these aren't empty conditions either. Under U.S. federal supervision rules, one bad move, one unapproved trip, one missed drug test, even one suspicious text, and he's right back behind bars. Now, people close to the situation say Diddy's reaction was pure disbelief. After decades of power and protection, this is new territory for him. He's used to bending rules, not living by them. There are even reports of him having full-on meltdowns in private, trying to process how the empire he built on control is now being run by his probation officer. And let's be honest, this hits harder when you remember what kind of lifestyle we're talking about. Diddy's world was never about moderation. It was about access, luxury, and constant indulgence. His rehabilitation isn't just about drugs or alcohol. It's about stripping away every symbol of dominance he's built his persona on. When you've spent years surrounding yourself with power, influence, and excess, being forced to surrender all of it feels like prison 2.0. The court documents even mention that he's banned from contacting anyone connected to the case. Victims, witnesses, or even certain former associates. Combine that with his financial restrictions, and it's clear. The system doesn't just want him monitored, they want him neutralized. So yeah, this isn't freedom, it's a slow, public unraveling. Diddy thought he was walking out of prison a free man, but what he's stepping into might be an even tighter cage. Oh, and here's where it gets even worse. Diddy's not just walking around with rules, he's walking through a minefield. The court made it crystal clear. He has to stay completely away from every single person connected to his case. Victims, witnesses, former associates, anyone even remotely tied to those incidents. And that's not all. He can't associate with anyone who's ever been convicted of a crime. No old crew, no shady business partners, no industry friends with records. If he does, it's an automatic violation. And then there's the kicker. No firearms, no weapons, not even access to one. For someone who's built his life around power and intimidation, being stripped of that is another psychological blow. People close to him are saying he's trying to act like it's all good, but the walls are closing in. Every move is being watched, and one slip up could send him straight back inside. Think about that. Diddy, the same man who used to have entire cities shut down for his parties, now has to report every purchase, every phone call, every location. The judge wasn't playing games. These restrictions last for 5 full years after his release. He can't hide money, can't move cash around, and can't make financial decisions without approval. That's not freedom, that's control. And here's where it gets interesting. Sources close to the situation say Diddy's been obsessing over his finances. His empire is still massive, sure, but when your accounts are being tracked and your assets frozen, Rich starts to feel very different. He's reportedly been asking around about whether it's smarter to invest in his appeal or start lobbying for a presidential pardon. Yeah, you heard that right, a pardon. Diddy's still hoping that someone in power might step in and save him. But the odds, not looking good. Now, you've got to remember something about Diddy. His ego doesn't mix well with authority. People who've worked with probation officers say they're not easy on anyone, especially someone famous. They test you. They show up unannounced. They search everything from your car to your phone to your social media activity. You can be squeaky clean, but they'll still push your buttons just to see how you react. And that's what's making people nervous. See, Diddy's biggest battle now isn't legal, it's personal. The system wants to see if he's actually rehabilitated or if this is all just another performance. He can't charm his way out of this, can't buy silence, can't throw money at the problem. This time the stakes are real, and insiders are whispering that he's already showing signs of breaking. He's frustrated, pacing, venting to his team about the constant testing, the searches, the loss of control. But here's the thing. This isn't about punishment anymore. It's about watching what happens when a man who's lived above the law is finally forced to live under it. So here's where things start to get real for Diddy. This probation isn't just about staying out of trouble. It's about losing total control over his life. The court laid it out in black and white. He can't have any contact with the victims. None. Not a call, not a text, not even a message passed through someone else. He's also required to complete outpatient treatment programs for both drug abuse and domestic violence, which means random drug testing and mandatory therapy sessions are now part of his weekly routine. And this isn't the kind of therapy where he gets to pick his own doctor in Malibu. The program has to be court approved, designed specifically for offenders like him. It's humiliating for someone who used to have every option money could buy. Now, the same system he used to manipulate is the one assigning him counselors and testing his blood. The rules go deeper. He's also banned from owning or even being near any firearm or dangerous device. For a man who built an empire on intimidation, that's another symbol of power gone. Judge Arun wasn't playing around. He didn't just sentence Diddy, he dismantled his leverage. Everything he once used to keep people in line, the money, the threats, the influence, now comes with a paper trail that leads straight back to federal supervision. And here's the kicker. It's not just Diddy who's under the microscope. Everyone around him, employees, assistants, influencers, even online defenders, are now part of that web. Every transaction, every payout, every favor can be traced. If he tries to send hush money or pay someone off through a third party, the system will know. Federal agents have access to his financial records, digital communications, cloud storage, and even his devices. His life isn't private anymore, it's a monitored feed. Sources say the probation office has full authority to search anything. His house, his office, his car, his phone, his computers, even his iCloud backups. If they suspect a violation, they don't need a warrant, just reasonable suspicion. That means if one officer decides he's hiding something, they can show up unannounced and tear the place apart. It's a level of exposure most people couldn't handle, let alone someone like Diddy, who's built his life around secrecy and control. People close to the case say he's furious about it, calling it an invasion. But that's the point. This isn't rehabilitation, it's containment. It's a reminder that no matter how much power or money you have, once the system decides you're a threat, you don't get to hide behind it anymore. And that's the reality for the next 5 years. No more paper bags full of cash, no secret payments, no backroom deals. Every dollar is tracked. Every message is stored. Every visit is logged. For Diddy, that might be worse than any prison cell because this time the bars aren't made of steel. They're made of eyes. This is where things get ugly because now we're talking about real consequences, not just court paperwork. See, Diddy's conviction actually has teeth this time. The days of slipping through legal loopholes and writing big checks to make problems disappear, over. Every part of this probation order is designed to strip him of power and control. And honestly, it's kind of poetic justice. The rules are brutal. His probation officer can search his property, his home, his car, even his phone. Whenever there's reasonable suspicion, he's violated a condition or committed another crime. And get this, he can't refuse. If he does, it's considered a violation, and that alone could land him right back in jail. He even has to warn anyone living with him, his kids, his guests, whoever, that his home is subject to random searches at any time. So imagine that scene. You're living in Diddy's mansion thinking you're in paradise, and suddenly probation officers show up unannounced with helicopters buzzing overhead. TMZ gets the footage, young Miami's out front in a robe. It's chaos. For someone obsessed with image and control, this kind of exposure is worse than prison. But that's not even the part that's breaking him. The biggest hit is financial. Diddy has to give his probation officer full access to every financial document he owns, bank accounts, credit cards, investments, cash transfers, all of it. He can't open a new credit line, can't charge a card, can't move money between accounts without permission. Basically, he's lost his financial freedom. And there's a reason for that. During the trial, prosecutors pointed out how Diddy allegedly used cash transactions, literal bags of money, to pay people off, silence witnesses, and cover his tracks. That old trick, it's over. The government wants every cent tracked, every dollar explained. If one penny moves without clearance, they'll know. And if you think that's all, think again. Diddy has to pay for his own rehabilitation, services, therapy, testing, monitoring, out of pocket. No freebies, no celebrity exceptions. The court made it clear, you can't afford it, so you will pay for it. On top of that, he'll be regularly tested for drugs and alcohol, sometimes without notice, and failure to comply means instant revocation. People close to him say this is driving him insane. He's not used to living under rules, especially ones that make him answer to someone else. The same man who once demanded loyalty from everyone around him is now the one being checked and corrected. And honestly, this is what makes the story so surreal. Diddy's entire empire was built on control, financial, emotional, psychological. Now, every one of those levers has been taken away. He can't threaten, can't pay, can't manipulate. For the next 5 years, he's basically an employee of the US government, and they're his new bosses. So yeah, his fans might still call him a mogul, but the truth, he's just another name on a probation list now. A man whose empire got reduced to a stack of monthly reports and random searches. All right, guys, here's where it really sinks in, because at this point, it's not just about jail time or probation. It's about the system closing every single door that Diddy once used to move freely. Think about it. This man spent decades buying silence, manipulating headlines, and dodging accountability. But now, every move he makes is being tracked like a hawk. So what's next for him? Well, he's been ordered to undergo mandatory mental health treatment, and not the kind where you pick your own therapist either. Nope, the court decides where he goes. The program has to be approved by the probation office, and it's specifically designed for offenders. And that's not a small detail, because remember, Diddy's own doctors tried to pull the childhood trauma card during his trial. They said he'd suffered deeply growing up, and that his behavior was the result of unresolved pain. But Judge Arun wasn't buying it. He reportedly told Diddy something along the lines of, "You might actually be crazy for real, not just reckless." And from there, the tone of the entire sentencing changed. The court decided to treat him not as a misunderstood mogul, but as a man who finally has to face his demons. Now, here's the thing. This whole process strips Diddy of the one thing he's always had: control. He can't decide how he gets treated, who he talks to, or even how he spends his own money. The government is in every corner of his life now. Every penny that moves through his hands will be documented, logged, and reviewed. Imagine that. The same man who allegedly handed out stacks of cash in brown paper bags to keep people quiet now has to file paperwork for a credit card charge. Every transaction, every transfer, watched. His empire of power moves and backroom deals has officially been dismantled. And here's where it gets even more poetic. That old swagger, gone. The king of excess now has to ask permission to breathe financially. The same system he once thought he could buy his way out of has now turned him into a case study of what happens when arrogance meets the law. So yeah, when Judge Arun handed down those terms, he didn't just hand out punishment. He cut Diddy off at the knees. The money, the influence, the network, all of it's under surveillance. It's no wonder insiders are saying Diddy's having emotional breakdowns behind closed doors. Because how do you live like that when your entire identity is built on power? Every sip, every swipe, every late night phone call is being recorded, analyzed, and ready to be used against him if he slips up even once. And let's be honest, if history tells us anything, Diddy isn't exactly known for self-control. So now the question is, can he really survive 5 years of this kind of supervision without breaking? Or is this the beginning of a slow public collapse for a man who used to control the entire industry? Let's just say this, Judge Arun didn't just sentence him. He dismantled the illusion of invincibility that Diddy had been hiding behind for decades. Let's wrap this up with one question. Do you really think Diddy's changed? Because looking at everything we've seen so far, it feels like the walls are finally closing in on a man who thought he could outrun karma forever. These new reports of Diddy having breakdowns behind closed doors don't seem so surprising anymore. I mean, this is a guy who's been untouchable for decades, dining with presidents, ruling the charts, running empires built on silence. Now, he's sitting in a cell, stripped of every luxury, watching the same world that once cheered for him slowly turn its back. And maybe that's what's breaking him. Not the walls, not the guards, but the realization that he's not special anymore. You see, when you spend years believing you're above everyone else, reality hits harder than any sentence could. That's what people mean when they say karma's undefeated. But here's the thing, even now, there are folks still defending him. Bloggers, influencers, diehard fans, people who refuse to believe their idol could be capable of the things we've heard. Some of them do it for money, some for attention, and some just can't handle seeing their hero fall. But the truth doesn't care about loyalty. Now, whether Diddy comes out of this a changed man or not, that's up to him. He's got 5 long years of probation ahead, a spotlight that won't turn off, and a public that's finally watching every move he makes. If he really meant those courtroom tears, if that apology to Cassie and the others wasn't just a performance, then this is his chance to show it. But if not, this cycle will start all over again. More scandals, more damage, more pain, because you can't rebuild your image when the foundation is still rotten. Maybe, just maybe, this will be the moment that forces Diddy to face himself for real. No entourage, no cameras, no yes men, just him and the mirror. So yeah, maybe it is a cold world, but if there's one thing colder than prison, it's waking up one day and realizing your power doesn't work anymore. Let me know what you think. Is this truly Diddy's breaking point, or just another pause before the next storm? Drop your thoughts below, because this story is far from over.